start recording. So, hello there. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for
Uh,
inviting me.
you're welcome. Let's start with a few words about yourself. So, tell me a little bit like, what is your name? What do you do? And then we can do what we are here for, which is to see your extensions for Emacs.
Sure. So my name is Per Nordlöw. I'm from Sweden, and I've been working as engineer slash software developer for about 30 years. And I am currently running my own business as a consultant, and I've been working as a remote developer in the finance industry for 5 years.
Mhm.
And the last half year, I've been taking some time off and enjoying life and spending time with my sons and uh, recapturing on different subjects in the software industry, specifically AI.
Very nice, very nice. And do you use Emacs for your professional activities as well?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
whenever I can.
Mm-hmm.
So I have lots of opinions about why I think Emacs is the optimal way to work, both from a user experience, but also from a extension integration perspective.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very good, very good. Because I am interested to see, like you told me, like you have all these extensions, and I see you have a lot of things going. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
curious, and I'm curious how Emacs fits in relation to your work and everything you do. So yeah, you can screen share with Jitsi. If you hover over it, some buttons will appear at the lower part of the screen, and it's the third from the left. It's this box with the arrow inside. So you can select your Emacs window from there, and we will be able to see it on screen.
excellent.
Very well.
So let's try this.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, I'll select the window. Let's try share and see what happens.
Let's see. It's
Uh,
a blank screen right now for me. I don't see anything. Let's see.
okay, so I'm gonna try and
Maybe if you stop sharing and share again.
so
Yeah.
there's the option sharing the screen versus the window. So I chose the window. So let's pick the screen.
Okay. Yeah. Because
Uh,
all I see is it's blank. Like I don't
yeah.
see. Yeah.
So let's try the screen instead.
Mm-hmm.
um, or the display. Um, like that, and I'm gonna move my window like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No worries. Let's see.
See what happens.
No, it's still blank. Uh, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's a permissions issue or something. Like uh,
Yeah,
all I see right now is black. It's just a black screen.
yeah, that's unfortunate. So, what options do I have here?
Um,
I'm gonna try once
maybe you
more.
can exit Jitsi and rejoin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
let's see.
let's try that.
Yes, okay,
Uh,
okay.
okay.
Okay, very well, very well. So let's try again and see how that goes.
Yeah, let's try again. So I'm gonna um, try another thing. I'm gonna exit the full screen and see
Mm-hmm,
if this
mm-hmm,
for the um, window in Emacs and see if this has any effect.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I'm gonna choose the window, see what happens.
No, it's still black. Still all blank. Like I don't. Uh,
This is
yeah,
so I'm used.
this usually doesn't happen. Like in my case, because I'm using Jitsi basically all the time.
Yeah.
Uh, it normally just works. So, um, what could we
So
do?
let's start and deactivate the camera and see if that might be make
Could
any
it be on
difference.
my end? Let me exit and rejoin. Let me do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay. Oh, now I actually see your screen. So it was on my
Okay,
end.
excellent.
Very good.
Fine.
Very good. So I see your Emacs now,
Yeah.
and basically
So
we can start from wherever you feel like.
yeah. So what about the screen size? The font
For
size is
me, the font is good, but maybe you can make it a little bit larger so that people who are watching the video can also read it easily.
yeah.
Yeah,
So what about that?
I think this is good. This is good. If you
Yeah.
can make it a little bit larger as well, it would be optimal. Yeah, yeah. I think this is great. If it works for you, it's a great.
Okay. So I have prepared a presentation in my org mode.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just recently started using the reveal, so
Uh-huh.
let's see if I can get this to work.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so okay, so now I'm sharing the window, so I cannot show my Firefox window.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just skip to just look at the Emacs experience for now.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yes, let's focus on this. And if you need
Yeah,
to show me other applications, you can eventually do a screen share of the entire screen.
yeah, excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And the window is on my side. I'm going to activate my window in the recording and see if
Mm-hmm.
we have, and then I'm going to switch to. Uh, so now, okay, now the video changed to another camera, which is really bad. So I'm going to turn
Okay,
that
you
off.
can turn that off, no problem. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
no problem. Yeah.
Okay. So just I have a couple of bullet points, and I'm not convinced that there are any particular order. It's just something I came up with just now.
Mm-hmm.
But just to begin with fundamentals, I think that the reason why I'm sticking to Emacs as a development environment, even though I've tried other environment, is that it's highly non-modal
Mm-hmm.
versus modal,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to editing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is something I've been thinking about, and it's also something that could be applied in other situations where you develop interfaces. And there is actually a very good, interesting book written about modal versus non-modal interfaces called named the Name Interface by Jeff Reskin that I recommend to all people that are interested in the development and user experiences as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay.
So when we get into the extensions, then I've tried to pick the ones that I couldn't live without. so,
Mm-hmm.
so let's start with uh, uh, an extension that I'm using for my snippets usage.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried other snippets uses like JavaSnippet, and I am annoyed by the fact that the API is modal.
Aha. Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm bringing this up in the beginning. So what is meant by modal here? Okay, so if we are using a snippet expansion and are currently expanding and entering parameters in a snippet, in for instance JavaSnippet, the way you interact with the buffer changes. So
Mm-hmm.
until you have completed your snippet, the interaction mode is different, fundamentally different, actually. And this is something that I find highly annoying because it's not uncommon for people to want to perform a snippet expansion during the entering of parameter in another snippet expansion.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, you're expanding an if statement, and inside the expression or the statement, substatement, you want to do another expansion.
Yeah.
Turns out that there is already such an extension, and it's called tempo.el, and it's in Emacs. And incidentally, it was developed by a student named David Kogedal at Linköping University, where I
Ah.
studied.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, so I didn't use this for quite a long time, and then a couple of years ago, I started doing a survey of different snippet engines, and I came to the conclusion that Tempo had the infrastructure that I preferred.
Mm.
It's also the case that tempo.el defines its snippets in Emacs Lisp itself, which I find more convenient, opposite to other snippet engines that have a specific domain-specific format language for the snippet themselves. There are pros and cons of both approaches, but I find it a little bit easier to debug tempo.el because it uses macro expansions to convert sub-expressions in a specific style to other to functions basically.
Whereas with snippet, I think they have their own language, which comes from a text editor called TextMate or something like that.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's the good motive for sticking to that format, right? Absolutely. So that is one pro of snippet and other engines that make use of the same snippet format. Absolutely. So there's one other clever thing with tempo.el, and it's that it provides non-modal form style navigation of its parameters. And just to understand what this means, I'm gonna show you this.
Yes, please.
So if we start some buffer, let's call it a dummy.el, see if this works. Yes, it does. So here I'm having opened a D file, which is my preferred language of choice. And if we say we define a function, and then we go into the function, and then we have a function definition, and then we type if and then tab, you can see that it expands an if statement. And if I type like f tab and then press alt n, I go to the next entry in the form that was expanded by the expansion.
Mm-hmm.
So now I can press return, and then I enter something here. And now I can navigate back and forth here in a non-modal way after I've expanded my snippet. And it also includes the snippet parameter positions of previously inserted snippets, right? So this means that what this actually means is that the code is still being treated as a kind of a form with parameters being modifiable and navigatable, right? So it basically becomes shortcuts for previous positions where I entered parameters for the snippets.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know this. Okay. And does this persist, or like if you keep modifying it, eventually they break?
Yeah, so this is a little bit a question I don't have a complete answer to. Let's try this. So if I make a copy, I'm gonna now. Okay, so what happened now is that I'm using a mode here. So that made some overlays here.
Maybe it's the
So
prettify entities mode or something.
yes, so that's actually something I wanted to show you later on. I didn't think of this. So let's see if I can disable this mode. Disable, see if this works. Okay, it did. So we can now see that. Okay, so we're gonna have to stick with that for now.
Okay, no problem.
So, anyhow, these entry points are not persistent
Mhm.
completely.
Mhm.
So you
Mhm.
see here, it's only persistent across this if statement. But if
I
I do
see.
like another expansion, they are persistent across these two expansions. So it's not a
Mhm.
complete solution, right?
Okay,
And it
okay, okay.
could be extended to support like some kind of persistence in the syntax or the AST rather, or maybe concrete syntax tree nodes, which would be even more convenient. So yeah, it's not a complete solution here, obviously.
Of course, the fact that you are using tree-sitter and you mentioned the AST uh, means that
Yeah,
in principle you could insert the text properties, with the font lock mechanism or the equivalent wherever
yeah,
you want. So in principle, those could persist. But
yeah.
that's a very interesting, that's a very interesting concept there already.
Yeah, exactly. So what could be done here is to modify the logic and tempo
Mm.
expansion to instead make use of specific AST nodes or concrete tree nodes
Mhm.
that are of a specific type, right?
Mhm, mhm,
So this is a sub-expression node, for instance,
mhm,
of an if statement.
mhm.
Yeah. So that's the first thing I wanted to show you. And
Just
I
to ask,
have,
this is how much of this is built into Tempo, and how much of what we are seeing here is your extension?
I have a complete
It,
replacement for
it's completely
tempo.tl.
on top. Okay, okay, okay.
Uh,
So of course, just
or
to
it's
say, we
it's
will
a
also include the link to your extension so people can find them. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
So the tempo.el is in my my personal repository, and it's a modified version of Tempo. It's not a complete rewrite.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, and it's about 800 lines, the complete thing. Uh,
Okay, okay, okay.
and then
Eh,
I also have something called Tempo Collection, which is contain all the specific tempo definitions for various languages. So here I can search for D, for instance, and I have the function that defines the templates for D.
Gotcha.
It's also the thing that Tempo supports aliases, so I can define any number of abbreviations. So if I have if there are two different users who prefer different abbreviations, or if I sometimes recall one and sometimes the other, I can define both, right? Which is kind of convenient, in my
This is
opinion.
convenient. Yes. 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 Oh, nice. Nice.
It's also that Tempo provides another clever thing that I'm currently recalling, and that is that if you type if um, and then type space, it
Mhm.
turns out that because of if is a keyword, the only reasonable thing to do is to expand the if snippet, right?
Okay.
Because there is no other usage of if than actually defining an if statement. And
Mhm.
so I can either type tab as usual, or I can press space. And
Yes.
because space unconditionally must make use of an if statement, it automatically expands it.
Mhm.
And this is controlled by the first nil parameter to every specification. So if we search for if here, we're going to see that uh, it's actually part of the C if statement. So because of this, the first parameter in this list is the if itself. So if
Yes.
this is nil, this snippet is not going to be expanded on the space press. But if it is, it's going to be that. So it's a little bit
Nice.
convenient. Yeah.
Yes.
So okay.
Do
So
you
that's
have, in addition to typing and expanding as you type, do you have like a completion interface where you can pick?
yes,
Mm.
exactly. There is another. Okay. So let's see if I can recall. Yeah. So currently I've bound it to uh,
Mm.
control meta return. And the reason for this is I can go into further. But okay, so this calls temp expand if complete or read.
Mm.
This means that if you have a complete unique definition or abbreviation, it's going to expand it. Otherwise, if I type like nothing and it's going to give me a list of all the uh, snippets that are available. Okay,
I
so this
see.
might
Yeah.
be useful if you know that I'm going to type some kind of if statement, but I'm not sure whether I want to include the if else or not. So then here I can do if else, and then I get an if else statement instead.
Gotcha.
So this is quite convenient if you're like searching, if you can't recall what you actually named the
Uh huh.
abbreviation, right?
Uh huh.
So I know it started with A, for instance, or something like
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. And I can imagine now, of course, if you are willing to do the extra work, because these are completion candidates, you could eventually define a completion annotation function
Mhm.
for the candidate. So you could, in theory, have, well, here is the snippet, and here is actually its expansion as a hint, like, so
Ah,
that
yes.
that would be an extra step.
Yeah, in inside the buffer itself, you mean, in place.
Like in the completion. So, for example, by default, Emacs will have these completion annotations when you do Emacs describe symbol, where it
Mm,
will have the symbols and then it will also have, okay, this is like the first line of the doc string. And it will have a symbol such as F for function, V for variable. So you could eventually read, basically you need a custom function for this, but the function takes the string, in this case it would be alias, and checks against all the definitions and gives you the body of the definition, for example, what's it called, annotation.
yeah,
But of
exactly.
course, that's not necessary. I'm just, yeah, comment.
Yeah. Okay, so now I'm getting my reminders for doing standing up and moving my body. Usually
Good,
just about
good, 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 good,
the about the ding.
good.
Oh,
No, it's important to have those small routines.
yeah, exactly. Okay, so that was
This
what,
is
what I
tempo. Yeah,
what
very
I
good.
can
Mm.
recall right now that I wanted
Hmm.
to speak about
But
tempo.
fundamentally, from what I understand, you like it because it allows you to edit the way you ordinarily edit. So it doesn't have any kind of modal interface to it. So you don't have to think in terms of, oh, now I am expanding a snippet. It's like
Yeah,
I'm just writing.
yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And it
Hmm.
turns out that there's been research about this going on for a long time, especially in the avionics industry, because or in the aircraft pilot interface design industry. So, which is mentioned in this book, the humane interface.
Hmm.
So, for instance, when you look at the control board, the pedal board for an airplane, at least in what the humane interface describes, there are no modal keys
Mm.
that aren't restored to their original position when you let go of your hands and feet.
Ah.
So this is interesting,
Hmm.
right?
So I guess the idea, if we are thinking, of course, of pilots, the idea is for the pilot to not have that extra cognitive load of, okay,
Yeah,
what am I supposed to do in this specific context? It's like,
yeah.
mhm,
And this is especially important when the pilot is under stress, right?
naturally, yeah.
Because then he tends to forget these things into a much higher degree.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Mode, the mode he's currently in. Okay.
Yes, very good, very good.
Mm. There are, of course, deviations from this principle in Emacs as well, right? That I am using, like
Uh-huh.
magit. But magit, on the other hand, is kind of like completion. It kind of basically mimics the completion of subcommands,
Hmm.
and that is to some degree maybe not as modal. It's a
Yes. Yes.
maybe a
Yes.
philosophical question
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
to some. Yeah.
Because you can think of Magit like, let's imagine that you are not seeing the buffer. You can think of it as basically completing like a key sequence.
Yeah.
Like, of course, seeing the buffer allows you to operate on the thing at point and that sort. Yeah, but fundamentally,
Yeah.
it's exactly what you said.
Yeah. You could regard it as some kind of acronym expansion of a longer
Hmm.
sequence of Git commands where you have subcommands and parameters, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, FlyMake. So yeah, what is? Of course, I know, but what is FlyMake and what are you doing with it?
Yeah. Okay. So I've been using FlyCheck for quite some time,
Hmm.
but for some reason, well, one of the reasons that I recently started using FlightMake instead is because it's integrated into the language server protocol mode default in Emacs called eglot. And when I studied it a bit, I discovered that it's a little bit more flexible than FlightCheck. It's also a little bit more cumbersome to use, but it doesn't provide any limitations on how you spawn and spawn sub processes and collect their output compared to FlightCheck. FlightCheck is a little bit more rigid, but also a little bit more compact to write, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was starting to switch to FlyMake, and it's also part of Emacs, right, by default. So it makes it a little bit less dependent on third-party modules if you want to distribute your own FlyMake add-on. But anyhow, I've been using two, or actually one, couple of additions to FlyCheck for some time. And one of the most useful things I've been being dependent upon actually is an extension that provides a way to get feedback to the user about how long it took for some FlyMake or FlyCheck process to complete.
Ah.
And the reason for why this is important is because when you're using statically typed languages, like I'm doing with D, if you're misusing some kind of feature in the language that performs compile time evaluation, you're suddenly going to get an increase in the memory usage and the time usage for the compiler to complete the semantic check to start with. So, uh, so to see this in action here, you can see that this part of the mode line here
Mm-hmm.
contains milliseconds and megabytes that was required by the compiler to do either semantic analysis or a couple of more things that we're going to get into.
Mm.
So if we we change here, we start import std, see what happens, see if this works. So all of a
Mm-hmm.
sudden it pops to 250 milliseconds, right?
Interesting.
And then if we remove it and save, it get back to this, right? So this
Interesting.
is very useful when you want to keep track of your compile times. And I haven't seen this anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I'm depending on this all the time to keep my compile times small, or as small
Mm-hmm.
as possible, right? You can also experiment with different alternative implementations, right? And you can also notice when you do something fundamentally wrong, like for instance, do some kind of recursive expansion of templates uh,
Mm-hmm.
and misuse of templates, which you can do in both C++ and D and other languages that have generics implemented as templates, right?
Oh, so if I have understand this correctly, so basically you have an intuition of how fast something should be overall or
Yeah.
how heavy. And if you see this spiking, if it's like too heavy or too slow, you're like, okay, basically I'm doing something wrong.
Mm. Or you are using part of the standard library or some third-party component that is very badly optimized
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to compile time performance. So it turns out that the template system in D compared to C++ is slightly less efficient. And it's also the case that um, the way that templates are used in C++ versus D versus other languages depend highly on the implementation of the function you're using. So there are built-in functions in C++, for instance, that are not built-in functions in D, and because of that, their usage become much more costly to the compiler. So this is ongoing work in the D community and probably also in the C++ community. So this is a topic where we should do more investigation of moving things into the compiler to speed up compilation. Yeah.
Good, good. And in terms of your extension here, so I see you have mentioned there fly make time. So I imagine that's the function.
Yeah. So we can briefly go into fly make time. Let's see where that is. Maybe I was misspelling it. I
Mm-hmm.
maybe this is part of some other module. I'm not sure where the
Okay,
source code
okay.
for this. Maybe it's
Mm.
perf. Um, yeah, it could be fly make perf actually.
Okay,
So
okay, okay. Because I see, of course, it does a check there.
yeah, uh, it might be that. So, but it's anyhow it works and it's somewhere. the logic
Yeah.
the logic is somewhere in my in this
Okay, okay. But what I
direction.
wanted to ask is this implemented with D in mind specifically, or is it
No,
sufficiently generic that it can
it's
work with?
it's absolutely generic. So
Okay, okay, okay.
so let's see if this works with the um, uh, not sure whether okay, so now I opened a file
So it's
that took
Python.
some time to okay, so let's skip that one. I have some issues with the Python language server, it seems. So
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, don't worry. You don't need to demonstrate.
it,
But I understand if it's generic. I understand.
it's currently sucking up all my CPU here. Oh, that was you should only stick to the things you've already tested, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Obviously.
So let's see if I can get this buffer. Okay, and let's shut down all the eglot stuff. Okay, all right. So it's generic.
Very good, very good. What about the next one, FlyMake EOL? Because uh,
Yeah.
what you write there rings a bell in terms of something that is built into FlyMake, but maybe here is something different.
Oh, that's intriguing. If it turns out that I've been implementing something that's already in Flaming. Okay, so the reason why I added this, wrote this extension that I, by the way, used some vibe coding for. To be honest,
Mhm.
um, most of my Emacs extensions are manually written, but some of them are in the recent time vibe coded. Um, so I was looking into NeoVim and trying to figure out if it's superior, and I was actually adapting the user experience slightly in NeoVim to mimic Emacs and vice versa. And it turns out that I've reached some kind of hybrid solution that is not that different from the default Emacs experience, but slightly different. So I can be productive in both environments. So anyhow, the default mechanism for the integration of a language server highlighting in NeoVim is to put the diagnostics in line at the end of the line. And when I saw that, I immediately realized that this is more convenient when it comes to bandwidth from the computer to the user, right, or the developer. So what I started to copy this behavior by adding a language agnostic extension to FlyMake that hooks into either it uses advices or hooks, I don't recall, and overlays the errors inside the buffer itself. So let's see if this works now. Yes, it does.
Yes,
So
yes, yes.
okay, so now we see here that if I type miss something underscore, it doesn't know what that indent for is, and it immediately inlines the FlyMake diagnostics, which, by the way, can be shown by doing by pressing here, right? So if you go and press this, you can also list all the problems here, right?
Nice,
So
nice, nice.
this is standard FlyMake behavior. You can click here, and you can also navigate by key bind. So you can navigate either by sticking in the code buffer, which I prefer, or you can navigate by sticking in the message buffer. We
Mm-hmm.
have also these slight details in interactivity that you don't have in other environments. It's basically about conformance of interaction. Um, so, okay, so here we see that is inline, very useful. And you can also see that the info diagnostics is being inlined at the top.
Yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
and we
I
can,
noticed that this inline, end of line, is persistent. It's not like you have to move the cursor there.
yeah, so let's see
Mm.
what happens.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So it turns out that I have kind of disabled this
mm-hmm,
for now. So
mm-hmm.
every time I make an edit, it gets removed. So
Yeah,
this
yeah,
is
yeah, of course. So it's on save or whenever FlyMake would do a
yeah,
check. Okay, this is good. This is good.
yeah. So
Something
I
like
had
this. Oh, sorry,
mm.
sorry. Please go ahead.
Yeah, so I had issues with the diagnostics not being completely in sync with buffer
Mm,
change.
mm-hmm,
That's why
mm-hmm.
I disabled the half working solution, partly working solution. Um,
Okay,
okay.
something like this. I think it was first introduced to FlyMake for Emacs version 30, I think. It
Hmm.
was improved for 31, and it even has now newer refinements for 32. Of course, the development target of Emacs. Basically, I enabled this feature just for me to test it the other day, and it has several options where you can have them at the end of the line like this. You can
Hmm.
have them overlaid with Unicode characters to basically show you like a tree with lines and stuff. So it's
Hmm.
if you have many messages in one point, and then you can have like I only want to see it if I am on that line or if I am on it, or like there are several options. So if you are on a newer version of Emacs, check out built-in FlyMake and EOL functionality.
So do you know what is it called? Um,
I don't remember, but if you were to do something like describe variable, FlyMake, EOL, something like that, you would find it.
yeah,
There are several, but I forget now. And there are also faces. So FlyMake, EOL, error, FlyMake. I don't remember the exact names now, but
yeah.
lots of stuff along those lines built into FlyMake.
This is very intriguing because I wonder if because I have been having this public for I don't know a couple of months, so
Hmm.
maybe somebody picked up my code and
It.
started putting integrating into Emacs, which is, by the way, one of my goals of having this talk because I don't have time to integrate everything I've written into Emacs.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So I need assistance with this, right? So,
Hmm,
but
hmm.
so this is the reason why I'm one of the reasons why I'm hoping that people are gonna pick up this talk and dig into this further for other
Yeah,
things
yeah.
that haven't been integrated.
Yeah, even like, of course, if you can send patches, that's the best usually. But even
Yeah,
sharing ideas, of course, it can inspire people to do something for sure.
yeah, right.
Very good, very good. Let's see. What is the next one? XCK. This doesn't ring a bell. I don't know what XCK is.
Yeah, this is a stealth project of mine.
Ah,
Um, so I just wanted to mention one more thing,
mm, mhm,
and that is that this thing that comes up at the top,
mhm,
which is being outputted by the process that I'm calling,
mhm,
is actually using XCK.
mm,
So what is XCK? So XCK is a D application that tries to be a super linter that
mm,
calls out to many different processes and collects the information and merges the information in a useful way.
mm,
So, to give an example of what this execute does or provides that isn't currently provided, say that you have a compiled language and you have different ways of compiling programs for different purposes. One would be to just give as quick, as fast as possible the lexical check and syntax check and semantic check.
okay.
So this can be done in DMD using a single flag. So what I therefore have implemented in XCK is a thing that just does these three things. And that is when you see the parenthesis CHK
Mhm,
here,
mhm,
it is the output of a call to the compiler with just these things enabled. So
mhm. I see.
no code generation, no running of unit tests, no execution of code.
Mhm,
And so why not do it all in the same process? Well, this is very much faster to perform than doing a full compile with
naturally.
code generation. And it turns out that for some languages, it is 10 times as fast
Oh,
when
wow.
they're using the LLVM backend, because the LLVM backend is in languages like C3, which is designed to be very fast at compiling, a huge bottleneck, because the parser and the semantic analysis is so highly optimized that it only takes 5 to 10% of the complete compilation.
Mm,
And this is partly because C3 is so highly optimized in its front end, but it's also because LLVM currently prioritizes performance of generated code before everything else, including the compilation speed, right? So what you want to do in that case is to have a parent process that spawns many different tasks. And the task that completes the quickest and gives an error gives a quick feedback to the user.
ah,
So so what happens there, if you design this so it asynchronously outputs messages to stand it out, you can get feedback about errors before the other processes have completed that depend on these being correct anyhow. Meaning you
mhm.
get faster feedback as a whole when you have syntactic errors.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, this makes
So,
sense. Yeah, of course.
and this I haven't seen anywhere else.
And you
There
say
might
it's
be,
currently D mode only, so basically
yes,
you have written it specifically for D. Mm,
yes. So
mm,
it's currently 700 lines. That depends on a large set of modules that I have.
mhm.
Uh, but it spawns out to different tasks and different operations. So I can go into later why I have both operation and task kind, but um, we can see here that we have the standard check, and then we have a task that performs an extended check that is currently under testing in the decompiler, which
Okay.
uses workflow analysis, which is a whole topic in itself. And then you have the task that runs the code, I'll go into details about what we mean by run.
Sure,
Uh,
sure.
it also has a one that runs benchmarks. It performs a linting using another tool. It runs test and it performs profiling.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back to see this in effect, to see how useful this is. So let's say that we instead of investing getting the syntax checks, we
Mm-hmm.
instead write some function here
Mm-hmm.
that performs the square of a function of a variable.
Okay.
We can make a template and we just return x times x.
Mm-hmm.
And as we see, it is compiles, and
Okay.
then we're gonna um, create a unit test,
Mm-hmm.
um, and then verify that the square of 2 equals 4. Hopefully this will compile. Okay, so just to verify that it's actually catching up this thing. Okay, so if I misspell, you see that it's
Immediately, yeah.
reals there, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you also see that it merges many errors at the same line. So if I save again, everything is fine. So now say that you want to extend this checking mechanism to verify that your unit tests are working.
Uh-huh.
So what would we like to do is to basically give some kind of error if this assert statement fails, right? So let's make it fail. So let's say we switch to
Equal,
3.
yeah, exactly. Another
See what
one.
happens. And now,
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
what happened now is that
Ah,
the
nice.
XCK process first detected that it has a unit test, and then it compiled the code using more flags,
Mm-hmm.
namely the dash unit test flag, the dash main flag, and the dash run flag inside the decompiler, which basically creates an executable that, when called, runs the unit tests and
Mm-hmm.
out any diagnostics associated with failing unit test, if there are any.
Mm-hmm.
So this thing also, you can also see now that we, instead of having chk, we have the run tag here, which means that this is outputted by the run subprocess of XCK
Okay, okay, clear.
instead of the XCK subtask. It's executed by the by the run subtask, right?
Mm.
So this is highly useful, right?
Of course, of
Uh,
course, of course. And it
and it's
also
also,
shows you what it expects.
yeah. So you also see here that this left-hand side
Mm-hmm.
was evaluated. This could be even more cleverly outputted by somehow highlighting that this sub-expression actually is the 4 here, which is not completely obvious here, right?
Uh-huh, of
So
course, of course.
yeah, so you could have some inlining appearing at the below the line or somehow, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it makes it obvious that we want a 4 here, and then we're fine.
Ah, yeah,
If
I
it
think that would be enough. Yeah, of course. But yeah, in
if it
principle, you
turns
could do
out,
it, what you said, yes.
but it also could be the case that this is ill-formed, right? And we
Mm.
actually need to modify the
Mm-hmm.
definition of square here, right? So if
Mm-hmm.
we do the same here, there is another way we solve this, and that is by correcting the definition itself, right?
Of course, of course, of course.
Yes. So now the next step, it seems like this is all we need, right? But there are more things that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And the next thing we want is to have a way to verify that the module that we are writing contain unit tests that completely cover all the lines being written
Mm-hmm.
by all the lines that are contained in all the functions inside that are defined in this module.
Mm-hmm.
So it turns out that people do not agree upon where to put unit tests.
Ah, I
I
see.
strongly advocate for the case where the unit test is placed directly after the definition. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason for this is that it becomes more easy to correct the unit test if there is being some slight change in the definition of a function. It's also the case that it becomes more convenient to the build system to figure out what things to rebuild and recompile and rerun potentially when they're placed in the same file.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and in my case, or in the case of XCK, it becomes even more convenient when you want to recompile as few lines of code as possible. So if I had this in a separate file, I would need to have a more advanced way of figuring out which other D files that have a unit test that reference this function, right?
Yeah, 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 of
And
course,
I
of
would need
course.
to incorporate some kind of build analysis, dependency analysis across all the files in my project, and recompile those, and not only recompile the ones that are present in this file.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, this is an interesting approach. Yeah, I'm curious to try this also with Emacs Lisp because now that I see it here, I think that would work as well.
yeah, and when it comes to Emacs Lisp, this should probably be implemented in Lisp in some
Yeah,
kind
yeah,
of.
of course, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, so Emacs Lisp has its own way of traversing everything, right, and finding the xref references, and yeah, it should probably be part of some global analysis. It should probably utilize some kind of global dependency analysis algorithm,
Mm-hmm.
or actually, it's symbol resolution, which is the primary uh, algorithm
Mm-hmm.
you need for this, right? Um,
Very good, very good. But XCK, what you have now, you said it's about 500 lines of code. Fundamentally, it's not easy to adapt to other languages. We have to basically write completely custom implementations for what we want.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
the yeah, both when it comes to what flags are being passed to different compilers like GCC, for instance, and it's
Mm-hmm.
also that the the behavior of different ways of analyzing or running or compiling your code is different in C, and it also depends partly on the compiler, right? Because the pub compiler have different architectures of the various phases in the compiler. Um,
Yeah, I
uh,
understand. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
it,
of
it
course, of course. But the XCK doesn't provide some kind of interface or some abstraction to maybe make things more streamlined.
Not currently, no.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Is
It,
that
it,
part of the idea though, to eventually do that?
yeah, I mean,
Mm.
if there are people who want to make use of it in that way, I'm very open to assist them.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Um, it contains quite a lot of things that process output in various ways, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, and it also makes use of my extensions for D, which is currently in the process of being publicized. So I have lots of extensions to D under the NXT namespace here, which
Mm-hmm.
basically is a way to speed up the compilation, because the standard library is to some degree quite badly optimized when it comes to template expansions. So that is one of the reasons why I'm using my own versions of algorithms, like here, for instance.
I
Um,
see.
I'm also using type-driven development with paths, which is becoming more and more popular because it catches logical errors at compile time, and yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Okay, this is good. This is good. Very well. Anything else about the XCK, or should we move on to the
Yeah.
next extension?
Yeah. So there's one more thing
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
that XCK does, and that is that. So what more? If I ask you, what more would you like this super checker to perform? Can you think of
mm-hmm,
anything more when it
mm.
comes to unit tests? Being present in one. I kind of led you into the question
Yeah,
previously when
yeah, of course. Earlier you were telling me that, of course, it can't check the assertion itself, but it could also check the definition of the function, maybe.
yeah,
Like, yeah.
yeah. So this is the relation related to the thing I mentioned about me wanting to have the unit test being part of the file, and even more preferably directly next to the definition.
Mm-hmm,
So say that we add a new function that we call just f, and
mm-hmm.
we, for reasons we can go into later, and we need to make it a non-template function because otherwise it's not going to be expanded, because the only expand instantiates, well, all languages, template languages, only expand their templates when they're referenced, right?
Okay,
Uh,
okay,
and only generates code for them when they're referenced. So let's say we just want to add something like, let's call it ink, right?
okay,
So
okay.
now what happens?
Mm.
Now we see what happened.
Of course,
The
we
next,
see already it's not covered, yeah.
yeah. So how many language? So this is a question to you and to all the users
Mm-hmm.
and viewers that listen. How many IDs have this? There might be IDs who have this are very specifically tuned to Java, probably, but in a generic fashion, I haven't seen this thing anywhere. Um, so what happened now is that there was another subtask that was created by XCK that's called a cov subtask. Um, and this, as you can maybe figure out, made the same calls as previously, but it also collected coverage analysis of the current file, and basically just listed those file functions being uncovered, or sorry, those lines being uncovered. And as soon as I add a unit test uh, that that uses this function, it's gonna be, the error is gonna go away, right?
Good, yes.
So now we know if we have 0 here and 0 here, we know three things. We know that we don't have a semantic error. We know that we have a unit test that passed, and we know that we have code that is fully covered by unit tests.
Ah, nice, nice.
And this is, for me, who've been using this for years, is a complete game changer when
Mm.
it comes to productivity of developing really stable software.
Yeah, I can see
That,
that for sure, yeah.
yeah. So this,
And just to ask, in a file that is not trivial like this, like we are talking about a big file, does this sort of thing continue to scale, or is it becoming slow and cumbersome? Like, or is it like almost live feedback?
okay, so we're going to open another file that is larger here.
Mm-hmm.
This is 2000 lines,
Uh-huh.
and it imports probably tens of thousands of other lines.
Of course.
So if we look into this one, uh, we can see here that we have quite a lot of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
covered line. We have um 73 uncovered lines, right?
Mm.
Um, so, and it took the XCK 0.4 seconds and 260 megabytes to do this,
Amazing.
or at least the parent process. Yeah, you can see here the reason why this has is because it actually tracks the peak memory usage of the parent processes as well, right?
Yes, yes, I see.
Yeah, so you can see here that there is a slight increase when you go to the run task. Uh, yeah, I don't see now why the cov task isn't listed here. Maybe it's something it's missing. It's probably it consumes more memory. So, but anyhow, the parent process finished in 0.4 seconds, which is quite okay, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, for a file that is, and it normally, in my experience, it takes anywhere from 0.5 to 2 seconds for really big stuff.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
for
Yeah,
my
I think
usage.
that's acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah,
For a feature like this, of course.
yeah, exactly. So you can see here that for some modules you kind of leave it as is, and you don't go into fixing the coverage. This actually was something that I was started working on before the coverage analysis was implemented or overlay was implemented.
Yeah. Now, one thing which is now specific to FlyMake, not the analysis tool itself, is of course you have all these sub processes that give you diagnostics. Have you ever had the need to be like, you know what, I want to filter things out? Like, I have too many things here. I just want to see one specific process. You know, the output of one specific process. Like, do you have any such need? And if so, have you implemented some kind of a filter function here?
Do you mean like a filter function
L-
written in Emacs?
like for example, I imagine it now. Let's imagine there is the cov backend and there is the run backend, and cov sends you 10 messages and run sends you another 10 messages. And
Hmm.
let's say you're feeling overwhelmed and you're like, I only want to see run.
Ah,
So if you could basically, I don't know, hit a key here and type what you want and narrow to that backend or
okay.
process.
So,
Or
all right.
type actually.
So yeah, so FlyMake actually has a type tag for each diagnostics.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm using this here. So what you see here is a standard FlyMake presentation
Mm-hmm.
where the type has actually been extended to cover both info and coverage. So what I can do here is I can sort on.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why the order doesn't change here, but if I sort on message, then I get another thing here, right? If I
Yes,
sort
yes,
on
yeah.
line, I
Yes,
get
yes, yes.
so this is a partial solution to what you want here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay, I see, I see.
Uh, yeah.
Because I can
So
see that extra little tweak being potentially useful. Most of the time it wouldn't be, but if you have like lots of diagnostics, like hundreds of them, I can
yeah,
see how it would help. Like, let me focus on what I want to do now. And you
yeah,
type a key here, and it narrows the tabulated listing here accordingly.
yeah. I guess I guess I would
That would
put
be a
that.
FlyMake extension. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I would even propose to put that into the FlyMake source itself.
Sure, sure,
Uh,
sure. Or
maybe.
of course, if you want to make it even more abstract, this is a generic filter for the tabulated list mode, which is what we are seeing here. But yeah,
Mhm.
of course. I see. Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Oh, cool, cool.
Yeah. So there's more stuff I would like to have here, and one more big things that I have thought about would be to collect profiling information for benchmarks. So,
Mm-hmm.
so the D language doesn't currently have a specific benchmark construct, whereas other languages like C3 and Rust has, and Zig. Um, and obviously, for them as well, it would be very useful if those could be run as well in a separate subtask and be collected and overlaid.
Mm-hmm.
So these, so those that kind of subtask would probably take significantly longer, right?
Of course, of course.
Maybe tens of seconds or even minutes to collect. So everything would be very useful if it was synchronously collected and incrementally collected into this list here, right?
Oh,
And
of
it would
course, yeah, for
also,
sure.
and one other thing that would be very useful would be to have like some kind of lights that are lit up for each of the different kinds of subtasks. So
Mm-hmm.
this I don't have, basically because FlyMake doesn't have it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of having these lights, you could have like XEK, run, cov, and so on, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And see the status for each of those subtasks. That would be very useful.
Ah, yeah, this is something you can definitely do for sure. Like
Yeah,
independent on of the fly make indicator. Like for as long as you can collect the data to overlay it in the buffer, which you already do, it means that you have
yeah,
access to the data. It means that you can say, okay, there are, I don't know, 10 cov messages, and then you can put that as a separate indicator on the mode line, independent of FlyMake. But of course, yeah, if you want to have everything together with FlyMake, you would need to modify the original indicator.
yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right.
Very good. Very good. Yeah, let's move to the next feature. I saw it was something about character edit or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So let's see if I had everything. Yeah. Okay. So the next thing is something that I've been quite recently been developing, extending, and assimilating in my workflow, and that is to um, instead of making the key press on an active selection, just replace the text, which is the standard behavior in most other editors.
Mm-hmm.
I find it quite annoying, and we already have the backspace, right? That could be used, or the delete character, which I'm
Okay.
using.
Okay.
And instead of having it insert the character after the current selection has been removed, it instead performs various kinds of operations. Um, so, for instance, in org mode, it is sensitive to the C character. So if I press the C character, it wraps it
Ah.
as code.
Mm-hmm.
And if I press some other character like I, it becomes
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
italicized, and if I press B, it becomes bold, and so on. And it turns out that this idea is actually very useful in programming as well. So it's not only about high, formatting of text, which is not relevant in code, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you would also like, for instance, single quote, double quote, region, backquote, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
And because I've been experimenting quite a lot with different key styles, key layouts, and in my opinion, the keyboards are currently not designed to be effective at reaching all the ASCII characters in a convenient way.
Of course, a
Uh,
regular keyboard.
Even though I've assimilated the UK layout in the last 2 years,
Mm-hmm.
from the Swedish layout, it's still not very convenient for some letters, like to the right of the pinky finger, right? So
Mm-hmm.
there are two other columns to the right of the pinky finger
Mm-hmm.
that you need to to reach. Um, so so instead of having to reach all these ASCII characters via either shift and some ASCII alphanumerical key, I instead bind that to a single character when I have the selection active. And for single quote region, it works very nicely, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you can mark and then press S for single quote. You can press D for double quote. But
Okay.
this also okay for single quote. Maybe single quote and double quote is not that difficult to reach, but single quote is a little bit more difficult to reach.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to back quote, and then you have raw string literals and so on, right? And the raw string quote are different for different languages. And
Of
so
course.
then you start to reach a level where it's quite useful, right? So
Hmm.
I R becomes backward, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes, for sure.
and,
What
and
about the discoverability? So I think this is very useful, and there is also the electric pair mode built in. But I'm interested in, okay, I am marking now a region, and I kind of remember a few things, but I don't remember them all. Is there a way for me to know? Is that an issue you ever encounter, or you just remember everything?
uh, currently, I don't have any pop-up menu for this. No,
Mm-hmm,
I am
mm-hmm.
aware of the pop-up menu when you have when you're maybe I've disabled it, but there is some pop-up menu that you can activate when you have multi-step uh, key bindings, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, that would be very useful to have some kind of feedback.
Because I can imagine at scale, of course, if you are using this consistently, you eventually remember everything. And if you use mnemonics, of course, like S for single quote, D for double quote, eventually you remember the names. But it would still be useful, like as an option, to have something like, well, if I am selecting and I haven't done anything for a while, I don't know, pop up the options or something. Or if I have the
Yeah,
region and I type question mark, just pop them up eagerly.
yeah, absolutely. That,
Hmm.
that that would be maybe some very compact representation would be useful, where you have like S followed by the character,
Hmm.
uh, D followed by the single quote character, and D followed by the
Exactly, exactly.
one. Because it's always a trade-off between the mini buffer popping up and disturbing if it's needs to be formatted in more than one line, right?
Yes, of
Uh,
course, of course.
so that is the default behavior in Emacs is to try to fit it all into one line, right?
Mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
in the mini buffer or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, and there are probably very many more things that you could extend here. Um, so one other thing is that when you're editing comments, you actually want to have these kind of things like so here you can code, right? So if you mark if say that you had a variable x and you can press
Mhm, mhm.
select and press C here, right? So in this case, it actually becomes synonymous, or you wanted the same kind of formatting operations in the comments, right?
Yes, yes, of course.
um, because you want to be able to have italic and so on.
Mhm, mhm. But because, of course, it's a custom function, in principle, it could check like, "Hey, I am now editing a comment." So if for whatever reason a comment needed a slightly different behavior, the function could
Mm.
implement that.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'm already using this, I think.
Mhm,
So if
mhm.
let me check. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
if you see here, this is already context. So if I press C, you get
Exactly. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
if I do this, you get a specific construct in D, which is basically a code quoting. So this turns the code into to string, but you
Nice,
can
nice,
the
nice.
same syntax without having the syntax highlighter format everything as strings, right?
Mhm, mhm.
So this is a very thing that's very convenient in the when you're
Very
doing
nice.
meta.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I say, generally, I like this flexibility that you have there, where it's like, well, it's a do what I mean kind of functionality, but it's predictable. It's like it can only do like the right thing in this context,
Mm. Yeah.
and of course, easy to extend if you know Emacs list.
Yeah. Exactly.
Very good, very good.
Yeah.
Aha, projects.
Okay, so we have about 30 minutes left.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think we're gonna get to the end. I think I'm gonna get to the end in about 20 minutes, maybe 15 if I speed up.
Okay,
Or,
okay. You
or
can pick
maybe,
whatever you want. Like, show me whatever you want.
yeah. So I have a couple of. Actually I have lots of other things that we could go into in another upcoming talk. This is the list that I've been going through now is something I came up with by just uh, basically logging my behavior today when I started uh, navigating some code and trying to figure out what I wanted to show.
Mm-hmm.
So um, the list is probably at least 3 times as long
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
when I go into the details. But something that popped up to me that is more like these small details that can be extended, that can be improved. So putting more focus on making things more, what do you say, coherent, um, in the sense that, for instance, file operations could be more cleverly uh, implemented interactively in Emacs.
Mm.
Um, so Emacs has open file and save file, right? And it also has some, actually a very advanced project handling as well. So if we go into the file handling, something that I've been finding very useful recently is not to have to switch to DRED mode in order to move a file.
Mm-hmm.
So I have rebound, Control X, Control R to rename buffer and maybe file, because I
Mm-hmm.
never use the original binding, which is read open file read only.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, me neither.
um, and maybe you can guess what this does is
Mm-hmm.
that it takes the buffer and renames it. And if that buffer is tied to a file, it's going to rename the file.
Nice,
And if
nice,
that file is version controlled, it's going to unregister the file in its original place and register the file in its new place.
nice, nice.
Yes.
I think this is
So
very useful. Yeah.
so this is just a lot of things, a lot of code that is
Mm-hmm.
basically together for detecting file name, buffer file name, detecting if the file is under version control, um, and also give some good diagnostics,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
some hacks for triggering a correct refresh of the file.
Of
So
course, of course.
so if we let's see if we can just showcase this. Um, let's say that we go into some repo and we add some a dot. Let's say we call it just that, and then
Mm-hmm.
like we save that, we compile, and then we type Control X, Control R, and we want to rename it to say a.el.
Mm-hmm.
Now you see another thing here, delete corresponding bytecode file as well, right? So
Mm-hmm.
now I figured
Mm-hmm.
out that there was a dependency. So now I type yes and then rename, right?
Nice, nice. You don't leave that behind. Yes.
Yeah. Um, so and the auto removal of the ELC file is actually defined in another language. It is a hook on the removal function, I think.
Okay.
So this is actually one of the really powerful things about Emacs, right? That you can set these hooks and devices, and you kind of separate the concerns of the logic, right?
Correct.
And my experience with, for instance, Visual Studio Code, that it's way less cumbersome, way more cumbersome in this regard, because you don't have hooks, or at least when I looked into it, um, well, it didn't have the same granularity of being able to adjust logic as Emacs has. And
Mm-hmm.
this is power of under responsibility, right? Because if you do a mistake, if you make a mistake in adding a hook or an advice to some fundamental function, you're going to ruin potentially all behavior, right?
Yeah, of course. Or break a package in a subtle way.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you need to know what you are doing, and fundamentally, you don't want to have it wide in scope. It has to be like really narrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Okay.
But
So
in principle, this looks very useful. Yes. But you said something else also, which is like I don't want to switch to dred for the file operation. So I imagine you have optimized here for the rename operation, which is something you use frequently, but you don't necessarily have this for the delete operation or the copy operation, or do you?
okay, so I also have it for the delete operation. Delete
Okay.
buffer and delete file.
Nice.
So let's see if I type this kill buffer area and delete its file, right? So it might be that you have a buffer and you press and then you only kill the buffer, but here
Yes.
it's sentient to, so it explicitly notifies you that this is tied to a file, right?
Yeah.
So let's see if I just remove that. Okay, we're fine. Maybe if I
And if it's under
make,
version control, will it ask you about that as well, or is there anything else there? Like because you said
yeah,
earlier
so
with the renaming, it will unregister it and register it again. So what will it do
yeah,
in this
so
case?
I need to look into that because
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
uh, maybe I've been switching on and off that feature because I was a little bit uncertain about its behavior. But let's just see what happens if we have an ELC file here and press Control X, Control D. So maybe that logic, yeah, maybe it wasn't, was it compiled? Okay, so it turns out that it removes that file without questioning in this regard.
Okay.
So yeah, so it did remove the ELC file, but you didn't get a query for it. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
But of
So
course, I would imagine like if you are willing to delete the actual file, why wouldn't you want the ELC file? Yeah.
yeah, and this actually comes down to the fact that all these these byte compiled files should actually, in my opinion, be completely hidden to the user. I
Yes.
don't see a reason why they
Yeah.
should be visible, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest.
Yes.
I don't think they should be placed inside the file system at the in the directory where the EL file is placed. I
Mm-hmm.
think they should be placed somewhere else, but maybe I'm missing some reason why this is the case. Um,
Yes, I haven't looked into that, but yeah, what you say now sounds reasonable.
yeah. Okay. So um, I because I'm uncertain about the VC state behavior
Mm-hmm.
of the project of the replace rename buffer and maybe file. We can skip that for now.
Okay, no problem. As I
And
said, you can show
go,
me whatever you want.
yeah. So I haven't tested it ahead of time and before the presentation, so I'm a little bit uncertain about
No
its
problem.
state. So let's go to another function that I'm using all the time. It's an extension to project replace string and regexp.
Okay.
And this is something that I've been wanting for years. Instead of having to shell out the sed, right? I want to have a way to specify interactively a replace in the current project where the replace happens automatically without query.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and I wanted to be able to support like symbol scoping, like only replace symbols, for instance, and the whole complete symbol. I want it to be applicable to regexp as well, just like query replace string and query replace regexp.
Nice.
And ideally, I actually would like the replace functionality to be sentient to whether you're replacing a symbol in a project and then just replace the symbol directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is something that already the language server has thought about. The language
Mm-hmm.
server already has this. So I have been thinking about actually just replacing query replace or replace by some function that detects whether you're in LSP mode and just replace that string
Okay,
using
okay.
LSP replace symbol. So LSP has built-in support for symbol replace. Uh,
Of course, yeah, yeah.
but it doesn't. But it's uncertain how it handles the corner case where you have like documentation that references symbol, right? In that case, the LSP does not cover that, right?
Yeah, in principle, LSP should be able to tell the difference, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
exactly. And
yeah.
so it's an open-ended design where potentially
Mhm.
you could have, and it also this actually boils down to how we represent code and data, right?
Of
Because
course, yeah.
we are kind of stuck with the ASCII legacy, ASCII
Mm.
text file directory legacy, right?
Mhm.
Where we instead should be relying on some kind of symbol graph
Mhm.
representation. That would be some kind of graph where you have edges and you can set edge properties and all of that, right? And all the toolings we currently have to re-implement all over again would be hugely simplified if we had this new layer to build to store our data and logic on top of, right?
Mhm.
So, but anyhow, in the meanwhile, I have the project X, which is kind of quite a lot of code
Mhm.
to get things working in all the ways I wanted to.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
so if I project replace string, and I also have
Mhm.
my suffix being my name because
Nice, nice.
um, so we can see here replace a string in files of project.
Mhm.
Um, so if I do like so let's go into some so say that we wanted to apply this to this project we're currently in. I could just type the keyboard. Well, I could actually type project replace string,
Mhm.
and then say I want to replace this one. So I take the
Mhm.
selection and then I just add some prefix here, suffix here, and then I press, and then I get a regex matching file.
Uh-huh. Nice. Mhm.
So this could, of course, in some cases be more conveniently just specify EL because this is
Mhm.
actually something that I'm missing, um, is to have some different ways of specifying file types.
Uh-huh.
So in some cases you want to specify via regexp, and some cases you want to have some kind of shortcut, just maybe just EL, right? Uh,
Yes, fair enough. Fair enough. And I think
and then
like a default value there could be like the same file extension as the file I'm editing.
yeah, that is actually a modal interface.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Speaking of modal behavior, and it's been
Yeah.
coming up a couple of times that it's a little bit disturbing to me actually
Mhm.
to not have the same behavior by default. So I would
Mhm.
have it for all files in that, but that's just me.
Okay, okay. I see.
And let's see what happens if we actually just enter. So now you see something very useful here. Yeah. So now it mimics the behavior require replace, meaning it
Mhm.
has remembered the source and destination of the replace, right? So if I
Nice.
want to perform the same replace, I just replace type right return,
Mhm.
right,
Mhm.
and and empty for all files, right? And then I also get the second so to just type where I want.
Exactly where. Yes, I see.
So here I want to represent just in that direction. And then I get this, even though I get a question include VC submodules, but that I didn't want to do. And now
Uh-huh.
you see it performed the replace, and I got a feedback
Mhm. Mhm.
that it replaced two occurrences in this project text, right?
Okay,
Um,
interesting.
uh, And now I see that for some reason the auto revert didn't kick in, so I had to auto revert here, which is something I need to look into why that didn't trigger.
Okay, okay.
But anyhow, the replacement has been made. So you can see here that there is one edit. And you can always do this in other ways, right? But what this project replace string provides is speed, and
Mm.
uh, it uses uh, it uses Emacs functions for everything.
Yeah.
So it doesn't rely on any external tool for this,
Hmm.
which is useful because it turns out when you get into regex replace, if you have an external tool, the tool is always going to be different in some regards when it comes to regex syntax,
Of
right?
course, of course, of course. You need to know the regex per flavor it is using.
Yeah,
Mm.
and you some cases you have quoting, back quoting. In some cases you don't. Vice
Yeah, that's
versa, you know.
terrible.
Yeah. So yeah. So this is this is when I do replace, I I enjoy this function very much now.
Yeah,
This is
I also
taking a
like
long
the
time.
fact that it prompts you. Like, basically, it doesn't have a scope which is always the same. Like, it prompts you, and then you can be assured that you are changing what you exactly want to change.
Exactly, and this is also once again adheres to the modal principle, non-modal principle, right?
I see. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Except that it's local to the current project. That is
Okay,
modal.
okay, okay. But that I think is expected here. Yeah, okay.
You can actually let's see if that works.
When you are picking a directory, could you just pick the root or?
I was wondering if I
Mm.
had that function, but I sometimes for some functions you actually can. Um, I should probably add a feature where if you have a prefix command, you it should a query for the current project.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
So
Makes
for that,
sense.
it even becomes non-modal with regards to the current project you're currently in, right?
Yes, of course, of course.
Yeah. So now when I do this, I immediately I just was reminded of another thing that I wanted to
Mm-hmm.
show you
Mm-hmm.
that I think is very useful from a community perspective to be able to or extendability perspective. So if we just leave those project replace functions for now and go into something called project action. Um, this is an idea that's slowly been coming into other ideas as well. NeoVim has this as well.
Okay.
Uh, so the idea is that when you have a project, it is not uncommon for that project to have multiple build systems
Uh-huh.
uh, and multiple ways to perform some kind of operations on the project. So one obvious way is to perform some kind of VC operation, right? Version control optimization.
Mm-hmm.
Another is that you maybe want to do some linting and then some builds, right? So if we go into the decompiler and call this entry function for project action, which
Okay.
I've tied to F10,
Mm-hmm.
it does something called project perform action. So
Okay.
what this does is that it collects information on the fly about this project using its files and tries to figure out what are the potential operations or actions you want to perform on this project. So it's kind of
Mm-hmm. So it reads the
a
makefile, for example, to determine the makefile targets.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So so this is something that is being studied in the Nix community to a high degree because Nix is kind of at the forefront of these kind of ideas of having localized actions that on the fly install dependencies and all kinds of cool stuff that only Nix has.
Hmm.
Uh, so this could actually be extended to make use of Nix, but it hasn't currently. So if I press this F10, I get an action and it spells out dub as the default, which is dub is the default build tool for D community, for D
Okay.
source. But if I press tab here, you can see that that's merged actions
Mm,
from the
mhm.
version control system and from the make file. So if I
Yeah.
type make here, it automatically calls make. Now it seems like it didn't collect the make targets.
Okay, okay,
I was a
okay.
little bit eager and
Of course, there is an unwritten rule with video calls and presentations like this, which is whenever you want to demonstrate a bug, the thing works flawlessly. Whenever you want to demonstrate a feature, nothing works.
in this case, I actually hallucinated the feature.
That's fine. That's fine. But of course,
Yeah,
uh, uh, thinking about it means that you can already implement it because you know what you need to do, right? And you have just
yeah,
to add the relevant Emacs list for it.
yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Uh, Very true.
But
So
already it's interesting. Let me ask though here. So, for example, here it says pull. It doesn't say git pull.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
Internally, does that resolve to something else? Like, is there some translation logic going on here?
Um,
If you remember.
so what do you mean by translation
Like,
logic?
for example, pull, does that get converted to git pull? Or is it a literal pull which exists, I don't know, in the make file or somewhere?
Yeah, so let's just see what actually works here.
Uh-huh.
um,
For example,
so
status, which in principle shouldn't modify anything.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So now I get no applicable method. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so this has
Mm-hmm.
not been implemented.
Okay, okay.
So, but the interesting thing here that pops up now is that um, the reason why this is very, in my opinion, convenient solution is because it makes use of the Common Lisp object-oriented features.
Okay.
So if we go into this is actually something that I hadn't looked into
Mm-hmm.
at all. Um, so the extension mechanism is very convenient. Um, so it makes use of an existing way to specify um, uh, so, um, so the project mechanism in Emacs makes use of an object-oriented um, structure
Mm-hmm.
that is already being used by the version control. So it basically has a specific key that is so let's see if this project actions. So let's see if this. So here we have the function that extracts the set of actions that are associated with a directory.
Okay.
And you see here that what this means is that this structure here, VC Git directory,
Mm-hmm.
is already
Mm-hmm.
present in Emacs.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and Emacs uses this as a key to associate projects with um, their directory and type. So this uses the same format.
Mm-hmm.
So VC means version control, and
Mm-hmm.
Git means kind of version control, and directory is just a directory of the project root. So if I call this, I get the list of operations
Gotcha. Yes.
that are
Yes.
associated. And if I instead choose SVN here, or I don't know if it's maybe HG, I get nil, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I've extended this. I don't recall if build is present, is used or not, but I've extended it to
Mm-hmm.
just say that I want a build tool instead. And the build tool is make. And then I get a different set of operations, right?
Nice. Nice. Yes.
And this is very Emacsy, right? So you have a list of consoles,
Mm-hmm.
whether the first part of the console is the name of the subcommand, and the other one is the Emacs Lisp function.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Nice. Of course. So you
So this,
present this for selection, for completion. You pick the one. It does a list get. It gets the CUDA of the console.
yeah. And this, in my opinion, is very useful infrastructure, right? Because it makes it very intuitive to extend this from other parts.
Yes, yes. And internally, so of course the build key you have there. So project actions must have some logic to understand this key, like the first, the car of that list.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have this structure for this.
Okay,
So let's
okay, okay, okay. Yeah.
so it's basically a list of lists where the first element of the list is the build make tag, and the second one is the console.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, or maybe it's a list. Yeah, you see the generic thing
I
here.
see, I see, I see the structure. Yes, 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 yes.
So basically, all right. Um, and the way you define actions is, in my opinion, also quite convenient. So if I search for build make here, we can go down to look at how we define various kinds of uh, operations.
Mm-hmm.
So so let's just go to the VC, for instance, here. So we see here that we have the project VC status. I'm not sure why it is not being triggered. I'm just going to see if there was some kind of delay. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I don't know why this doesn't kick in right
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
but it does for the others.
Of course, I can
Um,
see the code. I understand what the code is doing. So in principle, this should work. Of course, why not?
yeah,
Maybe project root doesn't return the project right now. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it could be. Something needs to be adjusted here. But if we go into make do, for instance, we see here that this works, right? So this our action is triggered and calls make.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And we can see that it just defines the command, and then it does calls a wrapper I call compile n, which it's a utility function that specifies multiple tasks actually,
I see. Yeah.
multiple. Uh, so we don't need into why I'm choosing that, but turns out there was some convenience to be able to do a set of consecutive calls without the semicolon shell syntax. Um, or the semi, yeah. But what I wanted to show, the power of this comes when we have very specific needs.
Mm-hmm.
So turns out that when you build the decompiler, for instance, there are quite a lot of quirks that you need to be aware of in order to, for instance, run unit tests for the compiler in various ways. So when you run the compiler, when you compile the compiler and run the test suite, you are able to select a specific test.
Okay.
And this you would like to have be available interactively. So you would like to be able to write a specific function for compiling and testing the decompiler, um, and have that in Emacs Lisp. So that's actually what you saw here. If I press FT under the decompiler, you have the build, debug, and debug.
Mm.
So let's see if this works. So now it compiles the decompiler.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I need to switch to the master branch for the decompiler. Hang on.
Yeah, yeah,
See
no
if this
problem,
works.
no problem.
If this works. But maybe you can guess what's the gist of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Conceptually, of course, I understand it. And
so the whole idea is that you want to build it, and then you want to automatically run the compiler inside the debugger.
mm-hmm.
Uh, so this is
So
very
while you are doing that, maybe you can answer me this quick question. Like, have you looked into the project compile command? Um,
Uh,
I haven't explored it
yeah,
myself, so I cannot tell much.
I think I've seen it, but
Hmm.
I recall looking into it, but I don't. Uh, but I'm not sure whether it was what
Hmm.
I wanted.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, yes. I think it's a bit more simple-minded, but maybe it provides some of this functionality.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So let's see if the compiler daemon is on our side. The demo daemon is on our side.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
So what this does is that it compiles, and then it is supposed to do call a sentinel lambda when the compiler
Mhm.
completes. But for some reason, uh,
And what
okay.
would that
So
sentinel
now I
do?
see that they have changed the build rules for the compiler. They have actually removed an obstacle that is no longer needed. They have removed. Okay, so we don't need to go into that, but I'm going to fix that now. That's how what happens when you showcase on repos that are in current flux, right?
Of course, of course,
So
naturally.
there was previously an explicit regeneration stage for code part in the DMD compiler, but that's been removed. So
Hmm.
the makefile complains about this target not being present. But anyhow, the idea is that when this compilation completes, Emacs has a way to call a sentinel lambda,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And then what this sentinel lambda does is that it fires up GDB inside Emacs with the compiler binary as an argument, right?
Uh-huh,
So
uh-huh.
everything is automated here, right? And
Yes,
if you have
yes, yes.
already have the debugger open, it's just going to recompile and reload the binary, right? It's a very
I
useful
like it.
thing.
I like it. And of course, to say just the general thing. So basically, any process that Emacs starts can have a sentinel. So it's a
Yeah,
function that reads the process. And basically, you can do whatever you want with that process. It reads the signals coming from the process. So you can say something, okay, when you are done, if the signal is such and such, then do this and that.
yeah.
Hmm.
Te-
And did
So
you write the sentinel yourself, or is it?
yeah, it's right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
So we have the here's the main entry point
Uh-huh.
for the
Hmm.
project data. And then we have the finish function that is specified. Yeah, it's specified as a hook, right?
Okay,
Compilation
okay, okay, okay.
function.
Straightforward.
Yeah. So maybe this should be lexically scoped. I'm not sure. Or yeah, dynamically scoped. I'm not sure. Um,
Okay, okay. That we will have to test. But yeah, I like this approach. It's clean.
yeah. So maybe that's gonna work. Um, but anyhow, you can see that it's not that much code, right?
No, no,
Uh,
no. This is not. It's easy to wrap your head around.
Yeah. So and there is some. Okay, so I have a utility function dmd build debug executable. So this is where the real action, the debug action happens, but it's quite
Mm-hmm.
modularized. So here you can see that I'm using real GOG because it's I find it more convenient.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then it uses that. Otherwise, it uses that. Otherwise, it uses GOD.
Okay, okay, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
cool
so all
stuff.
these kinds of quirks. So this is the kind of things that tend to never get optimized. The workflow is so cumbersome and it stays for this for 10, 20 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
No one fixes it because there is no real incentive to measure the benefits of the payoff, right? Of the investment.
Of
Uh,
course, of course, of course. And then, of course, if you have competing priorities, it's like, okay, let's improve the code. Let's do this. Let's do that. Let's
yeah,
see what our clients want. Then, of course, yeah, these sorts of things never get done.
yeah, exactly. And
But improving those, it's useful. Yeah,
in this case, it's a community-driven effort, right? So
of
um,
course.
even less incentive to make things more usable. um,
Correct,
and
correct.
yeah,
And of course, you rely on volunteers and they have to coordinate somehow. Yeah, of course. So, yeah, more difficult for things to happen.
yeah. Okay, we have reached the end of the
Hmm.
time window.
Very good, very
So
good. So maybe you
I
can stop
leave it.
sharing so we can say a few final words.
Yeah, so I
Uh,
leave it for now, and very great
and of
thanks.
course, you will send me all the links so that I can put them in the description and then people can find everything. Like anything you want to send me related to this, just send it to me.
Yeah. So there were a couple of other things I wanted to showcase, but that's for next time.
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, of course, also there is the other thing like with Emacs, basically you can keep showcasing forever. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Okay. Great.
Very good, very good. So yeah, let's call it a day then. You can go and fetch your tasks, and I will stop the recording, and then I will publish it soon. Yeah,
Very nice.
very good, very good. So I wish you all the best then, and remember to send me the link so that I can include them in the description. And
Yeah.
take care, and good luck with everything.
You too. Thanks a lot.
Bye bye, bye bye, bye bye,
Bye.
and stop recording. Bye, folks.